Okay, welcome everybody. This is our roundtable discussion for my new short film, Dismissal Time. I'm Andre Joseph. I'm the writer and director of this project. This was something that I wrote last summer during the protests that were happening across the country and around the world, and it kind of brought back a lot of uh, unfortunate, difficult memories that I had when I was younger and going to high school, and particularly in my freshman year, where I was caught up in a situation where I was accused of something I didn't do. And, it was a racially motivated situation that got swept under the rug. And I felt because this situation is still happening now in other schools, that this is a story that needs to be told because, I don't look at it from the standpoint of getting awards or getting my career to another level. I'd like to have all that happen, but I want to see this movie also help somebody that might be going through this right now and needs to be told that, your voice matters, your life matters, and certainly, you're not alone in the situation that you feel like you're in. So, we assembled a wonderful cast of actors and just people that I feel will bring these characters to life in a way that brings truth and reality and a level of drama that you don't get necessarily from like a made for TV movie, but something that's a little bit more real and intense. So I'm just going to point out the actors here that we have. So I'm going to start with Lisa, who's playing the role of Miss Vance. She's the main character in the film, who's a history teacher, has a military background, and she's the one that gets to the bottom of what happened to this young kid TK, who's the only black student in her class and primarily in this prep school that we've created. So, Lisa, talk about how you got involved in the project.
Well, Andre, you and I go way back. I worked as an actor on your first film, Priceless in Staten Island, and it's wonderful to reunite and work with you again. I have great respect for your body of work and the films that you produce and direct. And I think it's really courageous of you to share this story. And I'm sure it triggers some pain from that freshman year. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. I love the role of the history teacher that helped you, Sharon Vance. I'm an advocate. As you know, I have a nonprofit of a right to heal, using writing and filmmaking as mediums to raise awareness, to provide platforms for others to tell their stories. And so this role is right in line with me. And the military background, I don't have military background, but as you know, I've been spending 5.5 years interviewing military men and women, all branches of service, all wars. So I have a little bit of insight on some of their lives and experiences. So being the person that speaks out against injustice is right in line with me. I've been that person who was um, through an experience that I survived myself as a survivor. So I'm just really proud to play this role and be the voice and be the big mouth that shouts out against anything that's discrimination or anything that's racially, fueled, or just the injustice and the despicable actions of others. I love being that person to speak out. I think it's important. We can't just be bystanders. And also to provide a film like this will provide others to, students that may be going through the same thing, and you just want to let them know that there's people out there for them and there's resources, because committing suicide and getting to a point where you feel like there's no other choice, this is really serious. So kudos to you, Andre, and I'm just really proud to be part of this cast. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for being part of it, Lisa. As I said, when I first wrote the script, you were the first person I had in mind for that role, just from the way that I pictured a lot of the teachers that I had going to school that I looked up to, who had different personalities, but all had the one trait of being somebody that went beyond the education, but really cared for the students. And I feel like, in your life and in your work, that you're certainly the embodiment of that. So I thank you for taking part in this project. Um, and next we have Mr. Troy Sill, who will be playing the principal in the film. And we just met recently through Lisa because you did a play in the city. So talk about your role and how you got involved with the project.
I got I got involved through Lisa, uh, who was kind enough to introduce me to you, and uh, I'm thrilled to be in the project. In my other life, I work with an incarcerated youth here in New York City, and injustice to our kids is something that I'm very familiar with, and speaking up for our kids. In my other life, I'm a union activist, so I take very strongly the responsibility trying to help the kids. And so this playing this role is interesting for me because he's exactly the kind of guy that I would love to take down in real life. But it's a thrilling role, and it's an important piece. And I want to thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you were so on point with your audition, and I was really excited to cast you in this role because you kind of pictured exactly what I imagined for the principal in this movie. So I thank you for taking part in it, Troy. Next, I got a familiar face here, Mr. Chris Carula Jr. We both worked together in a film called Vendetta Games, which was the first movie I ever did that got picked up anywhere. So Chris, talk about your role in this film and how you got involved.
Uh, well, I've known Andre a long time, and we kind of go back and forth with, we both write films. We both share out a lot of things with each other, and we bounce a lot of things off each other. Andre's a close friend of mine. We go out, we have dinner. He comes to my home. I go to his house, and we watch films, and we're very close. This is beyond, what we're doing now. And everything he does just, intrigues me. No matter what it is, he could show me something on the back of a napkin, and I'll be like, yeah, I'll do it. Just because he always has an angle in the way he plays things. It's always different, and being this is a personal experience for him. Just I was honored just for him to even ask me just for this small part. And the other films that he put me in, I'm very grateful because I never had any acting experience, and he's helped me along the way. And with the climate now, like we were speaking about, this is very important to have this kind of story out for kids that are going through these things, that don't want to speak about it, just like Lisa said, and can make them comfortable, at least to, have that conversation, have that uncomfortable conversation, be comfortable enough to have the uncomfortable conversation is what we want. And that's all, and, it's especially when it's things that can be lost in translation, where it's maybe not be as bad as you think it is, or not be as, easy as you think it is, but things that can be worked out. And this is, very near and dear to his heart, and I'm very lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, thanks for taking part in it, Chris. I'm really excited to be working with you again on it.
Thank you.
Um, Next we have Sarah Dolhansky. She's playing the role of Chantel. She's friends with another character in the movie named Candace. She's played by Kayla Minori, who's not here right now. And she's one of the elitist girls in this school. So Sarah, it's funny because the way that we met indirectly through Lisa, because she showed me like a self-read tape that you did for something else that I thought was so good. It reminded me of the character that I wrote. So, talk to me about like how you got involved and what you see for this character for yourself.
Yeah, so I mean that's super cool. It's always it's a really cool experience when like people collaborate and then you meet other people. That's what like this whole industry is about. So I was working a lot with I've been working a lot with Lisa. I've been studying with her for many years, and she had told me back in like December, I'm pretty sure, about you. And of course I trust her indefinitely with whoever she brings into my life and everything. So super honored. So it's been a really cool experience just through that like word of mouth and everything. And after reading this and learning more about the project, I was super touched by it. And one of the best things about being an actor is being able to bring to life real and relevant topics and do that through the craft that you love. So I love being a part of any project that speaks volumes like this one does. So it's been really, really cool being a part of this. And I'm super excited that even through my role that I get to bring this story to life. So I'm super honored and excited to be a part of this.
Yes, and you've been doing a fantastic jobs in the reading. So again, I'm really grateful that you've decided to take on this role, and I mean, just an amazing person. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
I'm actually gonna shout out two people here. So Denise Spalding and Dave Goodman, they're playing the parents of the TK character, and it's interesting how we all kind of met because Denise was supposed to star in another movie I was supposed to do that didn't work out. But we still kept in touch. And when I came up with this script, I said, okay, she kind of looks like my mom, so let me cast her in this role. And then Denise indirectly introduced me to Dave because she helped me land a teaching position for a couple of weeks at Idea Center for the Arts in Camden, New Jersey, which I did this summer, and it was definitely one of the most fun experiences that I've ever had to teach the youth how to make movies. You know, even just with whatever little resources that we had, and working with Ozzie Jones and Cynthia Primus. I want to shout out them because they were just fantastic people. I know your characters don't have too much to say, but just I guess Denise, you could talk a little bit about your character and you know just your sense of the project so far.
I was really excited to be part of this project because actually it reminded me of some college experiences of mine. I went from an all black high school, predominantly black high school, to a predominantly white college. And I faced some very similar situations. So I can relate to this story. And it brought back some real feelings for me. I think it's a great project. I've enjoyed just helping you get some places, some sets, and it's kind of a whole total experience. I love it. I'm loving it. Thank you, Lisa, because Lisa is still connected. You know, she's connected in everything we do. She's been a great help to me as well.
Yeah. Dave, anything to say?
Yeah, it was good. The first time I met you was at Idea, and it was a wonderful experience watching you work with the kids and hearing about your work. And I didn't know who you were. So one thing I did do was I got Vendetta games and watched that movie, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. So
Oh no.
Chris, can I get your autograph? But no, it was I really enjoyed the movie, and just as a director myself, I'm always in the mode of learning, and I really was looking forward to working with you and just learning your process, and see how you do things. But also as a father, in playing the character of as your father. Well, I haven't had a chance to meet your dad, and I look forward to doing that one day. I kind of thought about my own experience with this, and I remember having to go to my daughter's high school and taking some of their teachers to task because of some of the wrongdoings that she's experienced and injustice that she experienced. So just thinking about that, I was able to just sort of draw on that experience and bring that. But again, I look forward to talking to your dad. And then the other side of the story that I think is really great is while there's that aspect of that injustice that's there, it's really nice to be able to show the public that there are also good people willing to stand up, you know what I mean, and not take this laying down and not shirk or shrink to authority or the big corporate world. That you have people willing to stand up, and I think that's just such a great story to tell, So I'm really happy to be part of the project, and like I said, I'm in complete learning mode and appreciation mode for giving this opportunity. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dave, for playing this role. I know it's a lot, but I really do appreciate you taking the time for it.
Sure.
Next, we have Isaiah Fairclough. He's playing the role of Larry Swift, who is actually the bully of the TK character, and he is not exactly what everybody expects he's going to turn out to be. So Isaiah, talk about your character, how you got involved, and what you look forward to with this project.
Yeah, so I pretty much I just got news of the project and then I submitted and then I had a meeting with Andre initially, and that's where I really gained my respect for his perspective on the film and his outtake and his backstory and personal depth that he's putting into this story. Um, Most importantly, I think it's the conversation we're having at the moment, and I also think it's the perfect time right now to be having this conversation. I think it's a very powerful story to tell, especially for a lot of kids that feel like they can't tell a story about themselves. I feel like that's a really an initial highlight that we have in this film. And for particularly Larry Swift, um, I feel like as much as he is the bully and as much as he is the mean jock, I feel like there's this very deep duality within him where I feel like he's also shoved into this corner because of how he was raised within his parents' household. So I feel like exploring that and getting to that problem at the root, I feel like that's gonna really push our meaning for the story forward. I think it's based on how kids are raised nowadays. I think there's so many different stereotypes in school nowadays, and that um, once we change how we're raising the kids and once kids change their perspectives, I think such things aren't going to take place. But I'm really thankful to be a part of the conversation we're telling. And I think out of everything, I really respect Andre and his vision. And I respect his depth and getting to know him within that first meeting and getting to know him more and more each time we have these meetings. So I'm just really excited. You guys are all so cool. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on
Thank
board
you,
with us,
Isaiah.
Isaiah.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean that this story only scratches the surface. There's so much more that could be told in a feature or series. So yeah, I mean there's a lot more depth to these characters than just the way that we're kind of describing it. Next we have Oliver Feaster, who will be playing the role of TK, and it wasn't an easy role to cast, but eventually we found somebody that had not so much just the look, but the personality that we wanted for this character. So, Oliver, talk about how you got involved and your perspective on TK.
Yeah. So I got involved. I saw a casting notice for this, and I read the description of what the movie would be about. So I was interested, and then even reading it once I was cast, I got even more interested. And then when I found out it was from your perspective and your own personal situations, I became even more interested. So I just want to thank you for trusting me to be able to bring this personal role to life. Um, but I I was fortunate in elementary school to not be a bully or not be on the other side of bullying, but I have experienced someone that I knew personally that was on that side of being bullied, and I feel as though the school didn't really do what they needed to do to be able to help this person out. So I really was the only one to be able to um, be there for this person and be kind to this person because not a lot of people were. And even like everyone else was saying about the importance of injustice with George Floyd and everyone else was unfortunately murdered. I think it's important to talk about the injustices that are not just happening within, outside of schools, but what's happening in schools and how it's just kind of like pushed aside and not really talked about. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. There's so many of these stories I found in researching that it's still happening, in places that you wouldn't expect, and it doesn't get media attention. So that's kind of what we're bringing light to, and we're not going to be silent about that either. There's going to be some stories that are going to be told in this film. Next, we have Jay Pastelak, who's playing the guidance counselor, Mr. Deacon. So, his character has a bit of a shadiness about himself and is directly accusing TK of something he didn't do. So, Jay, you could talk about how you got involved and your perspective on the role too.
Well, I entered a casting notice on Backstage, I guess it was, and I got cast, and I taught in the post-secondary private for-profit field for 34 and a half years, and I've dealt with Mr. Thompson and Mr. Pekin from various perspectives, because I was president of the faculty union where I taught. So I dealt with them, and I've seen students. We had a very diverse group of students, and I've seen students not only affected by racism but exploited just for their money. The private for-profit sector could be fairly ugly in certain ways. Our school, I thought, was pretty good, but I had students who were denied the ability to shoot in photojournalism because they were Black. I had a young woman, very, very bright. She's a jazz singer now. Went out to photograph during a fire and was told by white cops to get lost. That just pisses the shit out of me. I just can't deal with that. But so I'm really glad to be part of the cast. Everybody seems so committed here, and I'm honored to be part of all this.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Jay. That really meant a lot, and to hear those stories, again, just the relevancy of what we're doing here. It speaks volumes that this is, not just a story about, the racial discrepancies in a school, but also it's dealing with classism too. Like where you're coming from. Sometimes even the environment of the school that you're going to can have an effect on someone's personality and the whole student body, which is what I faced. I went to a school that was in a primarily upscale environment that was kind of insensitive to these kind of issues. Like I would get called the N-word casually, like they think it wasn't a problem. Like, this is stuff that really happened that I injected into the script. So there's a lot of reality here that I try to push back on some people who think, well, oh, that's what happened, that wouldn't happen. But no, this really did go down and it just never got reported. And then lastly, we have Kat Walsh. She's playing the vice principal in the film, Miss Simonson, and her character, kind of plays the fence of caring for this particular incident that occurred, but then also ultimately having to fall in line for a job at the same time and trying to be protective of that. So, Kat, you could talk about how we got involved and your perspective on the character.
Yeah, I got involved through Lisa, who I've known for many, many years now, has been coaching me for a while. And she had told me about this role and that there was an opportunity to audition for it. Literally like maybe less than a week before I was getting married. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I want to do this because I was really excited about the project and, you raising awareness for this. And if you had asked me if I had ever would see myself being an assistant principal in real life, absolutely not. So getting to challenge myself to play an assistant principal is great because I want to do that and I'm up for the challenge for it. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, most definitely. I appreciate you coming on board and congratulations on your wedding, by the way. Yeah, so I think you're going to be great. Everybody in the cast is going to be amazing. Just the dedication that you're putting into it. I always tell my actors to always give as best as you can 100% so you could go back 10 years and look at this film and say that you gave your absolute best. That's always my advice for everybody that's involved. And for everybody that's watching, we need as much support as possible to make this thing happen. Even though we are set to shoot next month in South Jersey and Philly, things spring up when it comes to getting food, getting equipment. Sometimes crew members get added and you have to find extra funds for that. So, we have a fundraiser through Fractured Atlas, my fiscal sponsor. So if you go to our Facebook page, you can find a link there, or you could even find on my Instagram profile and donate what you can. All the donations are tax deductible. And even if you can't contribute, just share the link because that helps to get the word out. And I think the biggest thing for me is that everybody knows the importance and the gravity of the drama in this story and the understanding that, this is real, and it's something that I feel it has to be said to add to the conversation that we're having in this country. And so the more that you bring to this with your talents, your stories, and certainly just the connections that we're making through this, I think that's what ends up translating on screen, and that's what makes the audience connect to the characters that you're about to play. So, again, I thank everybody for taking this challenge on with me because it is cathartic and sometimes it does, I get my emotions about it too, just thinking about all this stuff, but I also feel like it's therapeutic because I look at my cousin who just turned 11. I have another cousin who's in college now, and you know, they've been through some challenges going to school and dealing with other kids and even their own personal experiences. So I'm doing it for them just as much as I'm doing it for kids out there that may be going through this situation, whether, you're someone of color, someone of, a different sexual orientation. This is for everybody, and it's a good message that I think needs to be put out there in whatever way, shape, or form, festivals, schools, and so forth. So before we wrap up, does anybody have any final comments or, just thoughts?
I think it should be an episodic, Andre, because the stories are boundless. Unfortunately, the stories are boundless. And as an episodic, it could probably transcend generations, just, like Law and Order, the longest running, TV series, I think, and as a platform to allow people to submit their personal stories, it could be, as you said, cathartic, but life-saving ultimately.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Lisa, and I definitely see that potential because, like I said, we're just scratching the surface. There's a lot more I could dig into with these characters and different stories, and I can't get into all of it here, but it's certainly going to be written out in the coming months or so after this is all over with. So, yes, thank you everybody for coming on board, and please support Dismissal Time. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice
Take
to
care.
meet
See
you
you
all.
on set.
See you on set.
All right, take care, guys.